Hello everyone, David here again, New View Safety Coach. Another blog review, and this time it's actually been the easiest one to come up with because it's Saturday the 24th of February now, so the 22nd and the 23rd were spent 8 hours a day, 8-hour days in lectures on my new uni degree. It's a bit of an intensive. So this particular unit, there's intensive 2-day slots every couple of weeks, and it's really quite draining, to be honest with you. But the upshot of it is there is a huge focus. Obviously, it's a psychology unit, so it's science-based, and there's a huge focus around proven psychological theories and techniques at work, and one of those, which is very prevalent and very strong in the course and the psychology of coaching, is called solution-focused. And I knew this prior to the course starting, because last year I did some research on who the lecturers were and some of the research papers that they'd released. Fortunately, they provided all this information very easily in the student portal, so I was able to just go straight in there and see what their main areas of focus were going to be, and their main areas of interest and key themes they were going to be teaching throughout the degree. And I noticed that solution focus was one of those key themes. I thought, that's interesting. What's solution focus? So I went online, Amazon, and bought a book called Solution Focus: Making Coaching and Change Simple by Paul Jackson and Mark McCurgary. Now, it's a really interesting book. Even if you're not interested in coaching, if you're interested in leadership, because solution focus isn't just for coaches, it's for leaders as well. And it's a way of, I suppose it's almost like a philosophy of problem solving and how you go about problem solving. And the way that solution focus goes about it is to not focus so much on the problem, not to get drowned in the details of the problem, but to look forward, I suppose, for potential solutions, which can come from past wins, inner strength, skills you are neglecting to think about or realize, attributes, successes, like I said, successes you've had before. It's to focus on the positive. Now, there's a strong alignment here with, I think, with positive psychology and other, and some contemporary safety methodologies, such as human and organizational performance, New View, safety differently, 2.0, whatever you want to call it, that they also tend to focus more on elevating or multiplying success, as opposed to dwelling in the past, or dwelling on negatives, or dwelling on things you don't want. Is to focus on things we do want in the future. So it's solutions focus is really an interesting area, and I was really happy, to be honest with you, that I found that it's such a key part of this coaching psychology masters, because it's one of those philosophies which really resonates with me. I personally, myself, I try not to dwell too much on the past, and I always don't always succeed, always try to look for the way forward. So it did resonate with myself, and that It's a bit of a preamble to the post that I wrote. Now, before I go into this, I need to preface this with, I wrote this post prior to knowing as much as I do know currently about solution focus. And you can tell this in the blog post because I applied a nautical theme to it because I suppose in hindsight now, I was trying to cover up my lack of knowledge by giving it a nautical narrative. And if I had to rewrite this, it would be very different. And going through the blog post and picking out key things to talk about for this video, I've deliberately avoided any of the nautical narrative as much as possible, because it's a little bit cringeworthy reading it back, to be honest with you. And it shouldn't be, because I did the best that I could at the time. So there's that. It should be a little easier on myself, to be honest with you. Anyway, we're going to cover this now and see how we go, and hopefully it'll spark some interest. Like I said, solutions focus is not purely for coaching, although it does, it can form a large part of coaching, but it's also a philosophy, techniques that leaders themselves can use in their organization. So bear that in mind when we're talking. It's a two-sided approach. It's two-sided. Really struggling with words this morning. I'm not feeling my best, to be honest with you. It's a two-sided approach. Let's just leave it at that, because my brain isn't really working too well. Okay, so the title for the post was, oh, I need to move out of the way, don't I? Let me shimmy. Make sure I'm checking the screen. Am I far enough over? I should probably do it. The title for the blog post was, and here's the nautical theme, Setting Sail for Success. The seamless synergy of organizational coaching and solution focus. First paragraph, first couple of sentences. In the ever-evolving landscape of organizational leadership, senior executives and leaders often find themselves navigating a complex maze of challenges. To successfully steer the ship towards prosperity, it's crucial to wield effective tools. Two such tools that have been making waves in the world of leadership are organizational coaching and the solutions focused framework, as articulated by Paul Jackson and Mark McCurgara. There is also, during the lectures for the past 2 days, my lecturers also mentioned another book, which I've stored in my Amazon wish list basket, whatever it's called, and I'll put a link to that as well. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I should have probably looked before I made the video, but I'll put a link to both books in the description below. Next sentence I wanted to read out. Solutions focus is like the North Star of problem solving, emphasizing solutions rather than dwelling on problems. This goes back to what I was saying before. It's not that looking at problems and clearly understanding the problem is forbidden. It's just not dwelling on those problems. It's even looking at the problems and going, and as opposed to, someone telling you a problem and you're going, oh yeah, that's really bad. What else is going wrong? It's go, oh, okay, that sounds really bad. What did you learn from that? So it's not denying the fact there's a problem, an issue, something gone wrong. It's acknowledging it, but not dwelling on it. It's like, okay, that was the problem. Is there anything you learned from that that's useful for moving forward? No? Let's think of something that is useful. Let's come up with a solution. Yes, there was something useful. Okay, well, what did we learn? Let's take that Small bit, it may only be a small bit, but that's fine. And you learned that, and that small bit going forward will hopefully mean that we don't make the same mistake again. So you can see it is really strongly, I think, really strongly aligned to positive psychology, in the fact that it's always trying to focus on the positive. It's always trying to push forward. It's always trying to build and develop, as opposed to dwell, sit there and this is the problem, and this is how many tentacles the problem has, and this is how big the problem is, and woe is me, have a pity party, and all those things. It's nope, let's move on. Organizational coaching is a collaborative process designed to nurture individual and team growth and enhance performance. That was just me drawing a link between the two. Not a link, highlighting what the two are. Again, there wasn't much I could take from this blog post, because so much nautical theme in it, and it just made me cringe so much. But next paragraph, positive inquiry. Solutions focus is all about positive inquiry, focusing on strengths and past successes. Organizational coaching complements this approach by encouraging senior leaders and executives to identify their strengths and past achievements, fostering a positive mindset, which is something we've already spoke about. Actionable steps. Solutions focus emphasizes identifying small, actionable steps that lead to positive change. Organizational coaching ensures that these steps are not only identified, but also effectively implemented, making progress a reality. Strengths-based strategy. Solutions focus and organizational coaching are both built on a strengths-based approach. They acknowledge that every ship or team has unique qualities, and that leveraging these strengths is the key to effective problem solving. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a technique used by organizational coaches on their coachees or clients, but it's also a technique, philosophy framework that leaders can use both on themselves and with their teams as well. You've got a team of people, and your resources are being cut and still expected to deliver the same kind of output or service, whatever it was you were providing in your team, and everyone's scratching their head and this is impossible, we can't do this. The leader can utilize solutions focus to go, okay, well, what did we do really well prior? What can we do moving forward with the resources we currently have? What areas could we streamline? It's all about the forward solutions. So, what are we at? 13 minutes. Let's go to the wrap up then. In the vast sea of organizational changes, organizational coaches and the solutions focus approach offer senior leaders and executives, all leaders really, an effective voyage towards success. They provide a roadmap for identifying strengths, setting sail toward a brighter future, and celebrating progress along the way. So there we go. Like I said, there wasn't much of the blog post I could use because the nautical theme was very cringeworthy. But it's a very interesting area to look at. And it's, the more I learn about psychological tools and philosophies, the more see an alignment between so many of them. As I mentioned, the positive psychology, solutions focus, new view, safety differently. They all have a common theme. They all have a common thread, or several threads that run through them, which is, let's focus on what does work. Let's make what does work more often. let's take, even if there's only a little bit of what does work, how do we make that a big bit? Because there's no point. Who was it that said? He may have been Todd Conklin. If you want to study how to make a marriage great, you don't study people who get divorced. Because you only know what makes people get divorced. If you want to study a great marriage, you study people who've been together for a long time and are very happy. Which sounds obvious, but in safety particularly, historically when we've tried to improve safety, we've looked at everything that goes wrong. We've had accidents, we've had incidents. Okay, what can we learn from them and how can we make things better? It's always been focusing, and it's a very small percentage of the actual work that gets done. 1%, 0.5% of the work that gets done goes wrong. And we focus intently on that and try and make everything else great by stopping this 0.5% of what goes wrong. When really we've got such a big pool there of stuff that's going well, that hasn't failed. Let's make that better. And I see that common thread running through this as well, solution focus. Let's not focus on the bad things. Let's focus on what has worked moving forward. Oh, should have probably moved back into the middle. So there'll be a link down the bottom for the blog post if you want to read it. I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I really wouldn't. Not unless you like boats and sea and corny nautical themes, which I don't. Don't know why anyway, that's it for today.